Good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Satsang with myself, John Homewood, and
Michelle McLennan. Hello, everybody.
good evening. We've been away for a couple of weeks, so
We have.
I hope you still remember about the Sunday Satsang. Hopefully you are here. Just as a reminder. Oh, thank you. We've got some hearts coming up already. That's beautiful. Thank you.
You know that somebody's alive out there. That's nice.
Yeah, we're not just talking to a screen.
Yeah.
So please just let us know who's watching, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions or comments, please type them up. We love getting those, and we also love getting those hearts. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and apologies for not being here for the last couple of weeks, but we're back. We are back. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Claire.
Hello, Claire. You're always here, Claire. Thank you for being here, Claire, from Harare, our hometown, where we were born.
Indeed.
We were both born in the same
Hospital.
town, in the same country, in the same hospital.
Just different years.
5 years apart, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite amazing. Hello, who else we got?
I
Claire
see
Cockett
Marlene.
there, Merlene. Hello, thank you for the hearts. Thank
I think I
you.
saw Shelley.
Thank
and
you.
Kerry.
Yeah. So this evening we're going to be, hello Diane,
Diane.
we're going to be looking at mastering the mind. Mastering the mind. It's something we all need to learn as we move through these challenging, turbulent times, because the mind can, if it is your master, drive you completely mad, insane with anxiety and fear and worry and regret and all of those things. So it's a good subject tonight to master our minds. Hello, Susan.
Sue.
Hi, Sue, yes, from Hogsback. Is it cold in Hogsback? It's sure cold where
cold,
we
yeah.
are. Well, not cold like Hogsback.
No, it's not cold like
No.
Hogsback. We just had a lot of rain. Sure.
Huge amount
But
of rain.
lakes outside.
Lakes, yeah. We're blessed with so much rain.
Cars stuck in the mud.
Yeah, Michelle can't get her car out. It's like embedded in the mud.
Hi, Janice. Nice to have you with us.
Hello, yes. Mastering the mind. So that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. But first we're going to start out, as we always do, by bringing ourselves into the most important, the most powerful, and the most sacred place on earth, which is the present moment. So let's just settle back, make quite sure that you are comfortable, that you've got cushions, that you've made arrangements not to be disturbed for the next little while, and just settle down into your physical body. Hello, sure. And just check that you are comfortable where you are right now. Hello, Tippy. So just gently close your eyes and just let's check in with the body. It's such a wonderful vehicle for traveling this human journey. And so often we neglect to pay it any attention. We only pay it attention when it screams at us with pain or with aches or whatever. Then we pay it some attention. But normally we have our attention placed elsewhere in time and space. But in fact the body is the portal, it's the intersection with presence, with the present moment, with reality, with life. So let's just take a few moments to connect with this body in a grateful way, in a way of acknowledging the incredible miracle that this physical body is. So let's just check in with the body and let's become aware of the chair you're sitting on, and we'll feel where that chair intersects with our body. Maybe we can feel the backrest behind our back. Maybe we can feel the seat under our bum. We just connect in this moment with the reality of being here now. We connect in with our feet, where our feet are resting right now. We say hello to them, to all the toes, to the ankles. Becoming aware of the shins, the calf muscles. Become aware of the knees. Let's just say thank you to the knees. As we get older, we start to really appreciate the incredible work that the knees do, because they start to creak and ache a little bit. So let's just rest a moment in our knees and give it the conscious awareness of presence in the knees. You might like to pour a beautiful, beautiful white light into the knees. And let's bring our awareness up the thighs, into the genitals, into the pelvic region, to the lower spine, we bring peace and harmony and presence to the whole pelvic region. And now we gently move up the spine, vertebra by vertebra, just checking in with each one and just saying thank you for being there. You might find yourself straightening your spine a little bit so that the life force can flow unimpeded through us. You might like to almost picture a light, a warmth, an energy coming up through your feet, up through your legs and up through the spine, revitalizing each vertebra as we go, and up through the middle between your shoulder blades, putting your shoulders back a little bit, and up the neck, relaxing the neck, releasing any tension in the neck muscles, up through the back of the head, relaxing the scalp, over the top and smoothing away any worry lines that you have in your forehead, and down into the face, relaxing the eyelids, relaxing the cheek muscles, releasing any tension from the jaw, seeing that your tongue is nicely relaxed, resting maybe against the front teeth, touching the roof of your mouth lightly. Relaxing the ears, coming down the throat, relaxing the vocal cords, down into the chest, relaxing the lungs. Let's take a very deep breath in now, filling the lungs right the way up with refreshing, clean air, and then breathing it out, letting it go. And as we breathe out, we sink down into the torso, into all the organs in the body, just thanking them all for doing all the work that they do every moment of the day and the night, whether you're awake or asleep. They're performing their function tirelessly, all in cooperation with each other. The heart cooperates with the lungs, with the liver, with the kidneys. Every organ doing what it's designed to do, with no direction from our mind. And we say thank you to the body, bringing our awareness to the shoulders, relaxing the shoulders even more and moving down the arms, relaxing our elbows, our forearms, our wrists, and to the hands. Just becoming aware of the sensation of touch in our hands, becoming aware of anything that our hands are touching. And we say thank you for this incredible gift of touch. And in order to truly feel through this sensation of touch, we have to be present. Become aware of the skin in our hands. Incredible function that the skin does. And as much as we have to be present to feel with our hands, we have to be present to feel with the skin. Feel the temperature of the room right now on your cheeks. And notice that you have to be fully present to do that. You can't be wandering off into any story in the mind. You have to be here now. Likewise with listening. In order to truly listen, we have to be present. Listening is such a wonderful gift, both for us and for our awareness, but also for those that we come in contact with. It really does help heal relationships when we listen with presence instead of with a judgmental mind, or a strategizing mind, or an anticipating mind, or a mind full of past patterns and remembrances through which it's processing what is being said. But when we listen with the pristine awareness of presence, there is a healing energy that comes into that moment that really does help heal relationships. No need to defend or even understand. Just to listen, to hold that space that listens. Become aware of the eyes and the eyelids. Just see in this moment if there are any images behind your eyelids, any colors, shapes. Become aware of the awareness that is aware. The awareness that's aware of the temperature of the room on your cheeks. The awareness that listens. The awareness that sees. Now take a very deep breath in, drawing it right down to the diaphragm. And as you breathe out, sink down even deeper into your physical body, saying thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being here with this beautiful community of like-minded souls, sharing in the beautiful energy of love and compassion and care that's here right now. Take another very deep breath in, blowing your tummy up as you breathe in, so you're pulling the air right the way down. And just let it all go, let it all go, let it all go. And just hand over the breathing for a moment to this incredible intelligence called life that beats our heart, that breathes us, that digests our food. It does it all with no conscious involvement needed from the mind. Let us for just a brief moment hand over everything to the intelligence we call life. Just here, just now. You can pick up your worries and your doing this a bit later, but right now let us focus on just being in one alignment with life, complete alignment with life, feeling this oneness of this moment and noticing how beautiful this moment is, how precious it is, and how sacred it is. Feel the stillness and honor it with your full attention. Notice what it feels like to be here now fully. Now take a very, very deep breath in, slowly drawing the air right the way down. And then a beautiful long breath out. When you're ready, you may gently open your eyes and just look around the room and just see how beautiful this moment actually is. The miracle of form. When we give it full attention, it's beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone who joined when my eyes were shut. Thank you to all of you. Welcome. Yeah, mastering the mind. What do the stars have to say tonight about that?
Well, the sun's just moved into Gemini, which is why we're talking about the mind and about the busyness, because it's a busy month when the sun moves into Gemini, because Gemini is it's ruled by Mercury, which is the planet of the mind, that rules the mind and communication. So it's just as it enters into the sign, we thought it might be a good idea to talk about it. Sorry, I've got a sore throat, so I might not be talking so much tonight. Maybe I'll just be listening and let John talk. But there's quite a sort of a big pattern that's been forming, which I spoke about in my New Moon video, which is called a Grand Cross, which is basically where you've got 4 planetary bodies in kind of squares to each other. And it's a little bit like a pressure cooker. And it can feel a bit conflicted, it can feel a little bit stuck, like things aren't moving. And so we just need to be aware of that, because it's a pattern in the energies at the moment. So if you are feeling like that, if you do feel like you're in conflict or you feel stuck, because it's what we call a fixed Grand Cross, then the way out of it is through presence, is through being here, connecting with your breath, softening, and allowing, accepting. So that's really the way out of the struggle. And I think we can probably talk about that tonight as well, because it's a pattern that's with us for a while. It doesn't just go away. It's actually exact today. And a lot of people are making a big thing about it, because it's quite an unusual thing to happen. But it's also an opportunity for us to really see our patterns and to see our blocks. And I believe that with the sun moving into Gemini now, it's a chance to see really how we communicate, what we think when somebody is talking to us. Where does our mind go? Does it go into criticism, or does it go into acceptance? Are we often trying to sort of finish somebody's sentence before they've finished saying it, so that we're not listening? And what about our mental chatter that goes around in ourselves all the time? What is that mental chatter? Because that's really what we want to talk about. And until we become aware of it, we can't really shift it, because it becomes unconscious. Those patterns that go round and round become grooves in our neurology, and we don't even know that we're actually doing it until we become aware of it. So I think that this is a really good month to talk about that. In Inner Space this month, we're going to be talking about rewriting our stories, the stories that we tell ourselves, either our life stories that we tell ourselves, and the stories we tell tell in any one moment, in any situation. What are we saying to ourselves about the situation? So that's mainly...
And that's the Inner Space for the month of June. That's Inner Space for the month of June. And those who don't know Inner Space, it's our monthly support community platform. And you can join for a month, or you can join for a year. If you join for a year, you get 2 months free.
Yeah.
And it's relatively inexpensive. And for that, you get 2 90-minute Zooms with us every month. And you get beautiful journal work and self-inquiry work. And you get them a lovely meditation as well, an affirmation, creative exercise. So if you haven't been part and not part of our Inner Space community, we'd urge you to go onto our website, which is journeysofawakening.com, and have a look at Inner Space and consider joining for the month of June, where we look at these stories that really do hold us back in time. They hold us back in history. Instead of being open to the newness of life, we're so busy still caught up with yesterday that we're not here to receive the gift of the present moment of today.
It's just a handy thing to tell yourself as well, in any moment where you're in a situation, a difficult situation, to just step back and say, what is the story I'm telling myself right now about this person, about this situation, about this concern, this worry, this regret? What's the story I'm telling myself? Because there'll be a whole narrative going on at any one moment. And unless we realize that, we actually can't shift it into a more empowering story.
Yeah, if you're talking about relationships, if you think about entering a new relationship, there's this open, alert presence that listens to the other one. And in that open, alert presence of listening, there's a flow of love. We become open and love flows between us. But when you've been in a relationship for 10, 20 years or even longer, there's this absolute story going on. And when they are speaking, you're not actually hearing the words any longer. You're hearing the story that goes with the whole situation. And presence is lacking. So therefore there is no openness to what is in the moment, and then love cannot flow in that moment. And we often we blame the circumstances, situations. We may blame the other person. We may blame ourselves for this lack of love. But in fact, all it is just a story going on in our head. And if we are willing to drop that story, just let it go, and just be here in this moment, in the wonder of this moment, here and now, like we are when we go into a new relationship. Then we open, and then something magical flows through us. And that is called love.
And we speak, I mean, if you think about it, when you go into a new relationship or you form a new friendship, there's a lot of respect and a lot of listening. And, you know, people speak to each other in a tone of voice which is respectful and open and engaging. And you kind of make eye contact. And then when things get rough, or you've had a journey together and you've maybe had some arguments, there's a sort of a wariness. And then there's a story about possibly what the person's saying or how they're saying it, which isn't even true. But it's in that moment you're not even hearing what the person's actually saying to you, because you're listening to the story in your head, which is interpreting the person's, what they're saying. So it's so interesting when you just stop and just really take cognizance of what you're thinking and what you are, where your mind is going in any moment. That's the step towards self-mastery of the mind. And we're all on that journey because we've all got busy minds. It's not about stopping the mind. I mean, the mind's going to be chattering away like mad. That's what it does.
Yours chatters, does it?
It does. Chatters.
Really?
Yes. I've got a very chattery mind. Even chatters at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
Oh dear.
But I'm learning to actually
have you been to see anyone about
allow the mind to just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Say to the mind it can have a rest and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's amazingly effective when I'm able to do that.
So just coming back to that subject which we didn't intend to talk about tonight, but that's relationships and the mind. So just to realize that when we start a relationship, there's a lot of presence, there's a lot of openness. But with the passage of time, there becomes a lot of mind. So in the beginning, there's very little mind and a lot of open awareness. And as we go through a relationship, there becomes a stronger and stronger sense of story, of mind. And the one thing that kills love isn't your situation or circumstances. It isn't the other person. It's not the way they look or the way they sound. It's the mind. Too much mind and not enough presence kills the flow of love. And that brings us to the subject which we're talking about tonight, to master the mind. And as Michelle said there, it's not a case of controlling the mind, not at all. To master the mind is merely, it's very simple, is to step back from the mind and from the chatter of the mind and realize that I'm not the mind. Yeah. Because the moment you realize you're not the mind, you are then in a position to choose what you attach your awareness on and what you don't attach your awareness on. When you're immersed in the mind and the mind has you 100%, there's no choice. There's no free will to choose anything in that moment. The mind is just running with your awareness. But the secret to mastering the mind is to realize that I'm not the mind. I have a mind and I can use the mind, but I am not those thought patterns. Yeah. And for most people, probably a lot of you on this call tonight, you don't have a mind at all. The mind has you. The mind is 100% you. And there's no sense of separation of who you really are compared to the stories that we're telling ourselves, compared to the thoughts, the repetitive patterns of thinking going on in the mind. We think we are those repetitive patterns, and we think all we need to do is fix those repetitive patterns, improve the mind. In fact, the company that I started 23, 24 years ago now, I thought it was all about the mind because I was teaching mind power back then, and I called it Mind Enhancement Systems. I thought it was all about enhancing the mind. And a few years into that company, I realized, no, it's not about enhancing the mind at all. It's to step back from the mind and to realize that the mind is my tool. And when we do that, we become empowered to use the mind in incredible ways, but it no longer uses us. We become the user of the hammer, for example. The hammer is not using us anymore. We are now choosing to pick up the hammer and use it. And mastering the mind, I believe, is a very important part of the process of awakening. It's the ability to step back from the mind in this, as we did in the opening meditation, into the stillness, into presence, and observe the mind. It's in the observing of the mind that we regain our power. Not by trying to control the mind, not at all, but by stepping back into beingness. And from that state of beingness, just being the quiet observer of what's going on inside the head.
Yeah, and not believing what the mind says either. Because we tend to believe it, The mind says something, so we follow it and then react from that belief pattern, which might not even be ours, might be ancestral, might be from our parents, it might be from our teachers, our siblings, our relationships. So those mind patterns that keep going around like loops. And I think, again, I keep going back to relationship, but I think it's because those relationships are where communication really comes out, and you can see it quite clearly through what's happening in our relationships. And I think that when we're very much in the mind, there's usually a lot of control. There's anxiety, there's control, there's stress, and that then feeds into the other person's control, stress, anxiety pattern. And so now you've got these two that are actually bouncing off each other, and it gets into sort of like a pattern. So to change that pattern, it's to actually change the way you respond, which means that you need to actually be aware of how you respond. And then you can say, I don't have to respond in this way. And as soon as you start doing that, you're breaking the state of that pattern that just goes around and around in circles. And you see that in relationships that have been around for a long time, is there's a sort of a pattern. You do this, he does that, she does that, she walks out the room, she raises her eyebrows, whatever it is. There's a pattern. And then that pattern gets entrenched. And then that's the way you react, and that's the way you respond. And you don't listen to each other, and you react instead of respond, and then that gets embedded. And so the times that we're in now is to actually realize our patterns, not to blame ourselves for them, not to beat ourselves up about them, but to see them and to say, is this serving me or anybody else? Can I react, or can I respond in a more mature way? We have at the moment Jupiter, which is the planet which rules wisdom and abundance and higher learning. And Jupiter right now, as we speak, is right at the beginning of a sign involved in this pattern, but it's actually moved into the sign of Taurus. And Taurus is a slower place. For the last year, Jupiter's been, or about a year, has been in Aries. It's been quite fiery and quite fast. And this is kind of a deeper, more mature way that we can learn about how we react, how we respond, and choose a wiser way of actually moving through the world and engaging and communicating. So this is the energy that's actually in this Grand Cross, which is actually, in a way, if you look at it in a positive way, it's almost like a stabilizing energy. You could see it like that. And you could see it as building a new foundation for communication, a new foundation for relationships, not based on the old, like a brand new one.
Yeah. And one has to ask the question, why do we want to master the mind? What is it? And when I started the company that I currently still have, called Mind Enhancement Systems, the reason I wanted to enhance my mind was to get something out there so that I could feel something. I thought if I had a better mind, then surely I could sort the world out in a way that would make me feel secure, loved, fulfilled, whatever. And gradually, as I moved through a time of massive transformation in my own life, I realized that the one thing I wanted more than anything else was peace. Peace. And believe it or not, the mind is never going to voluntarily give you peace. It may give you a brief glimpse of peace when it gets what it thinks it wants for a very brief moment, and it's quiet for a short time, and you can experience peace. But that peace is very fleeting because it's coming from the mind. Now, the peace that I yearn for, and possibly you do as well, is that eternal peace, the peace that isn't subject to the winds and the sands of time. And so, if it is peace that you would like deep inside your soul, then one has to learn how to master the mind. And mastering the mind doesn't mean acquiring anything. It doesn't, as I said, it doesn't mean controlling the mind. But what it does mean is, as we did in the opening section of the satsang, it means to meditate. Now, meditation for a lot of people means a doingness. I need to go and do meditation. I need to sit with my legs crossed, and I need to in double lotus, and I need to light a candle and incense, and I need to organize my environment so I'm not disturbed. And meditation becomes another doing. And one can say, well, I meditate for 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day, and therefore I'm more spiritual than anyone else around me. And so it becomes a self sort of improvement program that people enter on. And yet meditation is not that. Meditation can participate in that, yes. But the word meditation really means just no mind. In other words, the mind isn't running you anymore. The mind is there, but you are over here. And so meditation, true meditation is...
Okay, let's just keep going.
All right, okay. So what we were talking about when we dropped out, which is exactly what meditation is. Meditation is dropping out of the stories. And so meditation is something to be done every moment of the day. Meditation simply means no mind in that moment. I come back to presence. I drop my judgmental perception of the world around me, and I come back to stillness within me, and I observe the world around me from a place of stillness, not from a place of anxiety or fear or anticipation or trying to strategize and manipulate, but just from an acceptance in this moment, a place of peace and a place of presence. That's meditation. So if peace is what your heart yearns for, if peace is what you really, really, really want, then mastering the mind through the process of meditation is one of the most powerful things we can do on our journey of awakening. There are some other tools that we can use besides stepping back into a meditative state, but all the tools point us back in that same direction. The other tools, what tools can you think of that we can use to do that?
I think an affirmation can help.
Affirmations are very powerful.
Affirmation, if you, for example, if your mind's gone into a worry mode or cogitating about something that's happened or that might happen or might never happen, to actually bring yourself back with a mantra or an affirmation definitely helps me when I do that. I did TM years ago, and I've got a mantra that I use which definitely brings me back. For me it's a bringing back. It's bringing myself back from the mind. So noticing that the mind's just run away, not being angry about that, because a lot of people will say, I can't meditate because my mind's too busy. Well, everybody's got a busy mind. You're not unique having a busy mind. The mind is busy by its nature. That's what it does. It says yes, no, black, white, past, future, right, wrong. That's what the mind does. It's a busy thing that goes around. But you don't have to buy into it. So for me, it's a coming back. It's a bringing myself back from the mind. So however you do that, I mean, the breath's always there, so the breath helps. And then a mantra, which is just a sound that doesn't take you into a story. The way TM taught us was basically they gave us a mantra that it was a Sanskrit mantra, but that didn't mean anything. So because words are triggers. So when you say words, very often, it can actually take your mind into a story, because we have trigger words. Whereas a sound that doesn't have a trigger just brings you into the now, because there's nowhere for the mind to go. And so that's what the process is for me, is as I see the mind going into the story or whatever it is, it's just the realization, and then it's a bringing back. And as John said, it's not just sitting when you sit in the morning or the evening, although that's really good because it sets you up for the day. It's as the day progresses. It's every moment of every day, to actually just keep bringing it back. Where's my mind gone? What's the story I'm telling myself? I don't need to engage with that story now. It's there. It's like a radio that's on in the next room. You can hear it, but you're not actually listening to it. It's just there. It's like blah 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 blah. But it's not. I'm not actually engaging with it, trying to hear it.
I see the process during the day is not necessarily trying to bring the mind back. It's just bringing yourself back from the mind.
Yeah.
The mind is always traveling. The mind knows nothing of presence. The mind knows only time. It only knows past and future. So the mind is always on that timeline, traveling around, past, future, whatever is occupying its awareness in that moment. And it's a case of just stepping back into a meditative state, which is no mind, into presence, and being aware of the mind, where it is. And that's fine, just the awareness of the mind. It's the light of awareness that actually dissolves the attachment, the stickiness between you and the mind. It decouples you from the mind.
Delaminates.
Yeah. So you step back into presence. And you mentioned as one of the tools the breath. It takes one breath taken with full conscious awareness, particularly when we focus on the out breath, to step back from that busy mind, from that storytelling mind, from that mind that's so attached to time and preferences and judgments. We're going to tell a little story here. One of the stories that's always fascinated me is the story of Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve were supposedly living in bliss, living in a beautiful, peaceful place. And then they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And in that process, they acquired the perception of contrast, of up-down, white-black, male-female, naked-clothed. And in that came from the acquisition of mind. So before that, they were absolutely beautiful, peaceful. The moment they acquired this judgmental mind, they couldn't live there anymore. Now they had to go into the wilderness, the what's called the matrix. So we stepped out of Eden into the mind-made matrix of time. And that was fun for a while. It was fun for a long time, having all this contrast. But now I believe it's time to return back into that state of bliss, that state of peace. And the way we do it is we step out of the attachment to the mind story. That's all. It's just always stepping back, and it takes one breath taken with full awareness, as I said earlier, and a long out breath, and suddenly you're back. You're back.
Right.
Back in reality, back in this beautiful present moment. Because whatever situation or circumstances are going on around you, the moment, which is life, which is beingness, is always beautiful. When you step back into that stillness. Stillness is beautiful. And stillness is always here, underneath the mind's chatter, underneath all the disturbances of the mind. There's always stillness. And we experienced that right in the beginning of this satsang tonight. Hopefully you did. If you were focused and present as we did that opening meditation, you would have experienced peace in that moment. Maybe you can type up in the comments box if you were able to discover that stillness and that peace within you. Now, we didn't change anything on the outside. The mother-in-law is still there, the politicians are still there, the world is still the way it is, but we discovered something that was deeper, that was more primal, more fundamental than all of those stories in the world out there. And that is the stillness, the peace within us. And that is mastering the mind. It's a step back into reality, which is the pristine, beautiful present moment.
I would say also that if you have a lot on your mind, if you're concerned about something and something's really weighing heavily on your mind, then journaling is not a bad idea, to actually just get it out. You can't be journaling all day. But if you wake up and you've got a lot going on, is to just write it out, vent it out. Just write and write and write and write until it's out. Because it's sort of a clearing. And you kind of get it out the way. It sort of clears the windscreen, and then there's more clarity. So I think that's also another way of it is mastering the mind in a way, because when you look back on your rambling, you'll actually see exactly where your mind is and what it's doing, and you can look back and go, wow, that's actually what my mind's doing. And then you can choose to bring yourself back. So I think that's and then also pausing, which I often bring in, is during the day, pausing between different situations in a relationship, in communicating with another person, a team of people. It's to actually bring in the pause, because otherwise you've just got a long line of stuff and words and things that just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. As soon as you put a pause in, it's like a full stop. There's that sentence, and then there's a full stop, and then there's this sentence. Or there was that conversation, there's a full stop, which is a pause, and then there's a continued thing. So for me, that's also, it brings in those moments of silence, those moments of, okay, I can just breathe out, and I don't have to respond all the time. I don't always have to give my opinion. I don't always have to say something. Sometimes it's okay just to be quiet. That's also, I think, is mastering your own chatter in your head.
Yeah, and Mandy has a question or a point there. She says, I battle every time with meditation. I'm too busy and jumping from one thing to another. Allow the mind to jump from one thing to another. Don't try and still the mind.
No.
You just become aware of the mind. The awareness is the stillness.
No.
It's the stillness that's aware of the busyness of the mind. And that's the delamination process that Michelle mentioned earlier. It's to be aware, and that is there's your mind doing all it's doing, and then you are stepping back and just observing it. Isn't it so interesting? I'm not trying to control it, because the moment you try and control the mind, it's actually the mind trying to control the mind, and that gets you absolutely nowhere. But the moment you come back to stillness, stillness does not try and control anything. Stillness doesn't try and change anything. It doesn't try and manipulate the world of circumstances around it. It just observes. So in that state, just step back and observe all the thoughts, all the opinions, all the judgments that the mind's having. Just observe it. Allow it to be there. And then you find that, it is the stillness that's observing. And that is where peace, the peace that passes all human understanding, comes from. In that space,
But you allow it. You notice it. And you notice it jumping around, and then you see. Then you're the awareness noticing the mind.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
I noticed that my mind just went on a tangent, went around the block, went back to 1970. It's fine, okay. So I'm the noticer. I'm the observer of it. And that means I'm not it, which means it can actually be in the next room. Just there, chattering away, but I'm not it, because I'm watching it, chattering away. Yeah. Because a lot of people say that. A lot of people say, I can't meditate. And it's because they I believe, of this mistaken belief that when you meditate, you've got no thoughts going on in your mind. And eventually, when you meditate enough, you do get long patches of no thought. But it's a practice. That's why it's called a practice.
Yeah.
Because the mind eventually starts to actually get quieter.
Yeah, it's like a naughty child throwing a temper tantrum. If you pay no attention, it eventually does quiet down. The mind will quiet down on its own because it knows it's not getting what it wants. It wants your attention. It wants you to focus on it. And the moment it realizes it's not getting anywhere, it will gradually on its own just calm down and quieten down.
Yeah, it doesn't want you to meditate, because meditate's non-dual and it's not feeding it.
No.
So it's going to do everything in the trick to not get you to sit down and meditate.
That's true.
It's going to chatter even more when you start meditating.
Yeah. It will. So you mentioned earlier you mentioned earlier briefly about affirmation as a tool, and you mentioned mantra. Mantra and affirmation are two different things, in that the mantra is just something to distract your mind in a way that you just say it repetitively, and say it doesn't have to have any meaning for you, but it's a way of just bringing your awareness back.
With no attachment.
With
There's
no attachment,
story.
yeah. And an affirmation generally, for an affirmation to be powerful, should contain 3 P's. It's positive, it's personal, and it's present tense. And by saying that, you actually put your hands on the steering wheel and redirect the mind. You master your mind, you redirect it to actually focus its energy in a direction that you want to go. Where the mind is busy with affirmations all day long, like, for example, the affirmation is, I am stupid, or the world is tough, or money doesn't grow on trees. Those are all affirmations. And working with specific affirmations helps override those negative affirmations and brings them into a positive affirmation, in a way that it directs your mind where you want to go. So the mind is a powerful tool, and we can redirect it through the power of affirmation. Very, very powerful, that. So I would select no more than 3 affirmations and have them always ready on the tip of your tongue to actually redirect the mind from its journeys that it goes on. And the powerful affirmations, one of the most powerful ones is, my point of power is in the present moment. So whatever's happening in the world outside, my point of power is in the present moment. My power to choose peace is here in this moment. That's a powerful one. And another one for these times that we're going through that's very good is, all my needs are met. I am guided and protected in every moment. That's another very powerful one just to have there, which you can use as ammunition when the mind is really pulling you into terrible places.
Or I'm safe and supported at all times.
Yeah,
something like
another
that.
Nice one.
Is also a really good one.
Yeah,
or if you suffer from self-criticism, then a really beautiful one is, I love and approve of myself right now.
That's Louise Hay. Very powerful.
It doesn't matter what's happening.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I've said, what I've done, what I'm doing. Yeah. In this moment, I love and approve of myself. And it really brings you out of the story, because if you tend to go into a story of self-judgment or self-criticism, it actually brings you out of that and into a loving space, which is then a present state. So
we have a whole pile of cards. I know we've got a whole pile of affirmation cards. We choose one every week, which is a good tool to use during the week ahead, whenever the world wants to tell you that it's more important than your peace. You just use the affirmation card that we give you every Sunday, and just brings you back. So Michelle's already chosen one for tonight. Well, just randomly came out the pack, and it's a beautiful one for tonight. So Michelle will,
for this time,
astrologically. Yeah. So Michelle will give that to us in the meditation that you're going to do now.
Yes.
And just a little notice that we are running our annual retreat at the Buddhist Retreat Center in Ikopo in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. That's from the 2nd of June to the 6th of June. There are 2 modules there. The one module is from Friday night to Sunday night, or Sunday lunchtime, and the second module is from Sunday till Tuesday lunchtime. So there are 2 modules there. So if you are booking for the Buddhist Retreat Center, please book for both modules. You won't want to leave on Sunday lunchtime. Promise you that. So don't make the mistake of just booking for half of the of that. It's a beautiful place. It was voted by CNN as one of the 10 top retreat centers in the world, and it's a wonderful, beautiful place. The food is lovely, people are lovely, and it'll be a pleasure to have you with us from the 2nd of June to the 6th of June. All bookings got to be done directly at the Buddhist Retreat Center. We don't handle any bookings for that. If you just go online and Google the BRC Ikopo, it comes up there, and you just do your bookings and your inquiries through them. Okay. Are you going to lead us out in a meditation?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, and I hope you've had some tools, some indication of how to master the mind.
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know in the comments, and then we'll give you one last tool at the end of the meditation, which is a powerful affirmation for this week ahead.
Wonderful. Okay. Alright, so just settling in if you're not settled in already. Taking a deep breath in, and then a releasing, relaxing breath out. Now breathe in for 5 counts, all the way in, and breathe out for about 8. So really breathe out for longer than the in-breath. And now breathe in for 5, hold it for a second or two, and on the out breath, blow the breath out through your mouth like you're blowing through a straw, until all the breath's out. Then breathing in again. And on this out breath, just let it all go. Just let it all go. Let it all drop off you. Allow the week's concerns, anxieties, possible conflicts, allow them all to just slide off you, just in this moment. In this moment, let them go. No need to carry them. No need to think about them. Just bringing your awareness to your breath. That's all. Gentle awareness. So as the breath comes in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you'll notice that the more you pay attention to your breath, the more the mind seems to quieten if you're paying full attention to your breath. Just noticing as the breath comes in and out. And noticing that any tension areas that you hold, you can release on the out breath. You can let them go. Now bringing your awareness and your attention to your hands. Just full focus on your hands. Nothing else, just focusing on the hands. And any sensations that you might be feeling in your hands. Open your hands. Rest them lightly wherever you are. In an open, surrendered way. And allow that surrendered motion, that surrendered feeling to move through your body. Allowing that surrendered wave to soften your head, your eyes, to drop your shoulders. Allow your whole body to just relax in this moment. Continue to just bring yourself back to the breath. If you find your mind wandering around, just notice that. Allow it to continue to do what it does, but bring yourself back to the breath. Just this breath. To just these hands. To the sounds that you can hear in the room. To the spaces between the sounds. Allow those spaces to get bigger now. So they start to expand your awareness. And fill you up with presence. Keep bringing yourself back to the breath, just to this moment. There's no need for you to do anything else in this moment. There's nothing you have to fix, nothing you have to understand. It's just this breath, this moment, this space. In this space you are connected with the essence of who you really are. See if you can deepen this even a little bit more by deepening the out breath and relaxing and surrendering the body even more. And the card that I drew for tonight and for this week is I surrender to this moment. I surrender to this moment. And allow yourself to surrender to this moment, which means to let go of anything else. Feel your body surrendering. Just in this moment. And connecting with this peace that is always here. Taking a deep breath in and a gentle out breath. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that lovely? Well, hopefully you have mastered your mind a little bit this evening and you're feeling a little bit of peace right now. Thank you for being with us tonight. We really appreciate your energy in these satsangs. Thank you, and have a beautiful week further. We will post that affirmation on our Facebook page now. And if you're not on our mailing list, our emailing list, please just type up your email address in the comments box and we will add you to our emailing list as well. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, everybody. And if you did drop out on our first conversation and you missed it, this will obviously be on the Facebook page. And we'll also put it on our WhatsApp group once we load it onto YouTube. So if you're not on our WhatsApp group, you can find the link to that on our website, journeysofawakening.com.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a
Lots
beautiful
of love.
week further.
Love you all.
Night to night.